if there's a story you want to tell, just go for it. Don't wait till it's like when it's been like years and years trying to perfect your art skills so that you can create a comic. That's not how it works. Like usually you have to experience what it's like making a comic and really like have fun with it. And when you start creating a comic and then you know what it's like to create a comic, you would improve little by little. So, yeah, just go for it, really.
Hello, my name is Annie, and you are listening to World of Webcomics, a podcast in which I interview creative people who are making comics for the online reader. Today's guest is a very talented young artist who has 2 webtoons and is about to become a featured creator. So that is very exciting. I think she had a lot of interesting things to say. Without further ado, let's go to the interview. All right. Well, for those who don't know, could you introduce yourself and what you are known for?
I'm Miss Freaky on Webtoon, and my friends know me as Miss Freaky, yes. And for my comics called Lovestruck and Homesick.
Awesome. I'm curious, where did that name come from?
Well, I kind of want to go for like a catchy title for like for the both of them. And I even thought of a comic called Lovesick because it kind of goes well together with Lovestruck and the and stuff like that. So I thought it would be pretty catchy for people.
I can see that. Could you tell us the, I guess, the pitch or what Lovestruck and Homesick are about for those who haven't read it yet?
So Lovestruck is a rom-com, a short rom-com for between a human and a cinnamon devil. So, yeah, it's pretty simple. The demon, you can say, has like a little crush on our little human girl. So, yeah, it's pretty simple. It's your typical kind of little crush love story. And Homesick is more of an opposite because it's more of an apocalyptic story between a girl called Rain, who has an amnesia, and a delinquent boy called Samuel, who happens to find her at a rooftop. So they have to go through an apocalyptic world where there's monsters roaming around trying to eat them. So, yeah, more gruesome.
Yes, I noticed that. They definitely have different tones, but your
Yeah.
style is distinct to both, so that's cool to see.
Yeah.
Uh, Before we get more into those stories, I would love to know a little bit more of your backstory. Like, how did you get into art and comics in the first place?
Well, so basically, my little brother and I, we were very into Ben 10. So, yeah, we love the whole transformation thing, and we used to be like a really huge fan of these cool transformation. And I would always make a deal with my brother to do like, he would do something for me, and I would draw him something Ben 10 related. And yeah, that happened, and I got really into like drawing these characters. And also, we had these Naruto books, comic books, and he loved those a lot. And yeah, I would draw some characters for him to impress him mostly, really. Yeah, that's our relationship.
Oh, that's sweet. So it was kind of born out of like a sibling thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, it's cool. So I'm curious because I think you mentioned in one of your artist comments, is
yeah.
Homesick featured or are they both canvas?
Homesick and Lovestruck are both canvas. Started off canvas. Lovestruck is still canvas, but a few months ago I got like an email from Webtoon for featuring my comic Homesick, which is a surprise really because I never thought they would actually like recognize my work, especially Homesick. So yeah, it was a big surprise, honestly.
Well, congratulations. Could you
Thank
tell
you.
us more about, like, are you going to have to take down what's currently up and start over? How does that work?
So for me at least, I would, yeah, we would take the the canvas version of the comic down, and I would redraw all of the panels out because I am not very satisfied with the canvas version. So, and plus, my art style is, I would say it's impressive. So I'd like to improve on that and make like a better quality version of Homesick.
Nice. So it's also an opportunity to kind of improve on what you've already created.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. Are you currently in school for art?
No, I'm not. I just finished high school, and I'm I'm planning to go to an art university. So yeah, that's basically my goal.
Very exciting. That's super impressive. I had no idea that you were so young. You're very talented.
Thank you, thank you.
That's amazing. So, is Lovestruck your first webcomic?
Yeah, no, no, no. Actually, it's not. My first comic is called Creeps and Corpses. So this comic was posted on a different platform called Tapastic. So in this platform, I only posted a prologue and a chapter one of like this comic that I started um in 2016 maybe. I don't really remember. I was 16 at the time, so I don't know what I was doing. I never continued it because the script was a mess. I don't know what I was doing. I just wanted to do something fun, but it didn't lasted. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, why do you like webcomics? Do you think that there's a benefit to them as opposed to like traditional print comics?
Well, because actually, I grew up reading manga, Japanese comics, and I really loved the style at first, and I even made like a fun little comic, you know, like in a Japanese style, which is for fun. It wasn't serious. It was nothing. But after a few years, I was my good old friend. She gave me a tablet for digital drawing, and on my 16th birthday. So I got into it, and then that's when I also started discovering Webtoon and Tapastic. And yeah, I was choosing between these two platforms to post like my first webcomic called Creeps and Corpses.
Do you now have a preference for webtoon over Tapastic?
I mean, I actually did not spend too much time on Tapastic after posting those two like the prologue and the first episode. I kind of gave up because, like I said, I really don't know what I was doing. But then maybe a year later, me and my Wattpad friends, we wanted we wanted to collab and make this little comic called the Ick Society. I know there's a lot of comic, but it was just for fun, and it's also kind of like a rom-com kind of comic, and on Webtoon, posted on Webtoon. So yeah, there was that.
Very nice. Could you tell us a little bit more about your process? What's it like going from writing the episode to actually posting the episode?
Writing the episode. Actually, I would have a general idea of what I want my story to be like. the beginning and like certain events that I want to happen and the ending. But to be honest, for Lovestruck, I haven't thought much about it because it was supposed to be a comic uh, where the main character Seth tries his best to get Nora, the human girl's attention, and it's supposed to be repetitive. There wasn't supposed to be much of a storyline, but I kind of like wanted to, enhance that and make a story about it. So I would like write 10 episode like a script for these 10 episodes, and then after that I would sketch them out and then see if I like it, and then yeah, I would do those steps where you line them, color them, and then put the speech bubbles and everything, and then slice the files, those things, and then post it on Webtoon. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, we mentioned at the beginning too that uh, both of these stories have some similar aspects, but at the same time are very different in tone. Were you consciously trying to make Homesick a little bit more darker or more serious?
Yeah, because actually I've always wanted to write an apocalyptic story. That's like Homesick is like one is the comic that I really want to put want to actually tell a story, because Lovestruck is more of like a fun thing and Homesick is more serious, and I've always wanted to write a story like Homesick, so that happened. Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about how those stories initially formed. Like, where did the ideas come from and what inspired you?
For Homesick, let's say for Homesick, I was mostly inspired by the TV show called The Walking Dead, and I've always had an interest. I've always been fascinated with like apocalyptic stories, like um, the 100 or like the Walking Dead game and all those stuff. Yeah, I've always been fascinated with zombies and all those all those creepy monsters. Yeah. So that's how Homesick was created. And as for Lovestruck, it was more of I was inspired looking at like drawings on Pinterest. Pinterest has a lot of good stuff. Like I saw like a little like cute drawing of little like demons. So I was inspired, and that time I also was watching Lucifer, the TV show Lucifer, and I kind of wanted to make a little rom-com about that. So that happened. Yeah. I get inspired by little things, really.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you feel is intriguing about the post apocalyptic story?
Actually, it's the choices the characters will have to make, because there will come a time where they will have to make really difficult choices, and they will have to pick between saving which character and which character. And also, I like to imagine what I would be in a situation like Homesick, like how I would try to survive in an environment like that, and whether to trust people or not, because we never know what will happen. And I feel like having characters like Rain and Samuel, who are pretty opposite of each other, and see how they would, you know, cooperate and try to survive together.
Definitely. On the flip side of that, I personally love rom coms as well. So
Uh-huh.
it's fun to see
Yeah.
that you can do both genres.
Thank you.
And it also seems like in Lovestruck that these characters all have a very like distinct personality. Did you did the characters come before the story, or did they kind of come together?
They came before the story. Yeah. I wanted uh to have this really cool, calm, and collected character like Nora, and a really like super timid little boy, a demon boy, especially because usually demons are depicted as, evil, very alpha like. I'm not sure. I pretty much, yeah. Inspired by the Lucifer TV series. Like, he's very charming and all that stuff, but Seth is more of the opposite. He's more shy. Yeah, he's more shy, talking to girls and especially people in general. So, and Dot is, she has a little like, she was inspired by my interest in fashion, and because of that I thought of like a personality that matches, who a person who loves fashion. So more of an outgoing, uh can be really stubborn sometimes, like most of the time actually. And yeah, but she's a total opposite of me. I'm quiet. I'm more of a Nora, but a little bit of a Dot. So there's that. Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned the fashion because I even wrote down that I wanted to ask you about
Uh-huh.
how, like, your characters are so stylish. Like, I want
Thank
to
you.
take fashion tips from them. So how do you develop like the look of the characters? Because all the character designs are like really aesthetically pleasing.
Thank you. So they're mostly inspired on Pinterest. Like Pinterest, they have a lot of good stuff, and also my friends, because each of my friends have really distinctive style. There's one that is very grunge, and there's the other that's more sporty and more, you know, like cool, and I kind of want to put that into my characters, and a little bit of like a inspiration from Pinterest as well. So yeah, and I like fashion. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a perfect outlet for it. Just get to dress up your characters too.
Yeah, yeah.
So, speaking of the visual aspect, I think it's safe to say that you have a very distinct style, and thankfully, the people in the comments have noticed. I think the art is beautiful,
Oh,
so
thank you,
kudos to
thank you.
that. uh, how do you feel like you've developed your own style, and do you feel like there are certain artists that especially inspire you?
Actually, I get inspired a lot by a lot of people, like even people like I don't know. So there's this YouTuber, she's called Lavender Town. She has like a really cool art style, cartoony and really distinctive as well. And I really love that. And there were and on Instagram, there's a lot of like really aesthetic artists as well. And I've made friends with some really cool artists, and they have really cool art style, and I kind of like got inspired by them, like little things. I kind of just like develop my own throughout the times, just getting inspired by random people, but very cool people as well.
Right, so it just comes from a lot of different
Yeah,
sources.
yeah. That's why my art style is pretty inconsistent as well. Yeah.
Oh, really? I disagree. I think you've done a good job of
Thank
maintaining
you,
that.
thank you, thank you.
So, going back a little bit to just writing and story as well, do you have an end goal in mind for both of your stories?
I have for Homesick, but Lovestruck is kind of a mess, honestly, really. But I have, it really depends like what I want to happen later, because my ideas can change over time, and people are always arguing whether like Nora should end up with this person or that person. But like it really the story will tell, and we will never know what will happen, and I will never know what will happen. It just kind of, will grow and we will see.
Interesting. In that way, do you feel like Homesick is more like a movie, whereas Lovestruck is kind of like a TV show, like it's ongoing?
uh I would say they're both okay. So Love Struck is more like a morning TV show. Like, yeah, it's kind of like Friends, but I wouldn't say that because Friends is pretty cool. Love Struck is a mess. We don't talk about that. So yeah, but Love Struck is gonna be pretty long. I can feel that, and
Mm,
Homesick has an ending that I want and that I
mm,
know how it will end. So it's Homesick is more, you can say it's a really long movie.
right.
Love Struck is more of, yeah, like you said, like a TV show. It will take a long time to finish.
Do you feel like there's a certain freedom in that, like the fact that the characters have room to grow and change?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like for example, the angels from Love Struck, they haven't had much of a character development yet because they were introduced not so long ago, but there are a lot of characters to explore, really. There's Ruth, she has a lot of secrets. There's Nora, she also has a lot of secrets. And there's Seth, who has a lot of secrets. They all have a lot of secrets. And I have a lot to tell from each of these characters. So yeah, it would take a really long time, and and I would have a lot of time to explore each of these characters.
Right. And you mentioned there's a lot of fun to be had with all like the shipping and everything that goes
Yeah, yeah,
on.
yeah, exactly.
Uh, at the same time, you raise some really interesting themes, like the fact that we know that Nora has something of perhaps a troubled past,
Yeah.
and you kind of raise this idea of like the sinner and how people deserve second chances. Was
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like a choice? Like, were you trying to kind of get at some deeper themes there?
Yeah, kind of. I feel like um especially not in the Love Struck universe, I've got a lot of questions like, oh, what did Seth do or what did Dot do? They don't deserve to go to hell. I mean, they don't deserve uh to be a demon. But like the actual story is that they were born as a demon and they have no choice. So
Hmm.
it's more like how human really looks at them and think, um and raise this like assumption of what demons are supposed to be, when it kind of goes deep about our society right now. Like, there's this whole like racism and all that stuff. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be that deep, but I kind of came up with it, while writing the story. So yeah, there's that aspect to it too.
No, yeah, I can definitely see that because there's like a part early on where as the reader we're scared that Nora is perhaps biased against Dot, although we learn
Yes.
that's not the case. But then we also
Mhm.
learn that Dot is kind of biased against the angel characters.
Yes,
So
exactly. So yeah, yeah,
interesting. Yeah, I definitely think that there's room for both like lighthearted, fun romance stuff and like deeper
yeah.
commentaries on society. You can do both.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then as far as again mentioning shipping, mentioning
Yeah, yeah.
people who are reading, I think another congratulations is in order in the fact that you've definitely built an audience through your stories, so that's really cool.
Thank you. I don't know how that happened,
That's
honestly.
I was gonna ask. Do you have any idea of how that happened, or do you have any tips for people who are wanting to grow an audience?
How to say? So when I started Love Struck, I never really told anyone about it. And because I wasn't confident in my own comic, I thought I was really, really cringy. And yeah, and so after like actually having people like when people actually started reading Lovestruck, I was like, why? Why this comic? This comic is short. It's bad. There's no story. And then I was like, if these people enjoy it, like I could probably share it with my friends and tell them about it too. So I have a couple of close friends. They checked it out and they thought it was cool. And I was like, damn, like, wow, okay. Uh, thank you. And then after like a while later, I started interacting with a couple of like webtoon artists, the canvas artists, comic artists. And I never thought, this would happen because some of these canvas comic artists were people that like I admire and like I read comics from, and I was like, how did this happen? Like this is like a dream come true. And then and so I was like, wow, like this is this is so cool. And then I started interacting with different people, especially people who wants to like aspiring comic artists, and we started talking, and then that's how like I started talking to like more people. And yeah, and I also like I think it would be best if like if you have a comic and you put your social media at the end, because that's how
Hmm.
people can easily find you and like ask you about certain things and want like or like things they want help from. And really that's how you can get to know your audience and become friends with them. And that's how you can grow an audience really.
Definitely. And I noticed that you even did a collaborative episode, like the Christmas episode.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I did not expect that, honestly. Like this artist just suddenly came up to me and I was like, what is this? Like what is this recognition I'm receiving? And then she was like, hey, you want to collab, have a Christmas collaboration? I was like, what? Like me? And then yeah, I was so happy. Like I never thought this would happen. So we collabed and a lot of other artists collab, and I was like, this is so cool. Like a lot of like artists that I even look up to like did this collaboration. So it was, it was super cool. Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah, I think it turned out really cute.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, a couple things I noticed as well is that one, when I look at the dates, it seems like Lovestruck you were posting very
Yeah.
frequently, and
Yeah.
you also made your updates longer. Like from the start, they were fairly short, and it seems
Yeah.
like was that a choice? Like, were you wanting to give readers more content?
It was actually more of I'm very impatient. So whenever I draw like from the beginning, I draw like let's say 7 to 10 panels of each episode. When I finished the next episode, I would post it like instantly without like a schedule, because I'm that impatient. And that's why it was so frequent, because that time it was summer vacation and I had a lot of time to work on
Mm.
it. And plus the style was super like I did not put too much effort in the coloring, so yeah, I could work really like quick. Like I could draw 7 to 10 panels each day and just post it like that. um but then after that, I've got like received some comments from my audience saying that they wish it was longer, which I understand. I understand because that's how. if you want like a like a smooth story, you would want it to be longer instead of like having little chunks like every
Mm.
week. So I tried improving on that. I tried doing daily upload, not daily up, weekly uploads. So I would make my episode longer and post weekly. That's how it happened. It was more of like I want to not only satisfy my audience but also myself for telling a better story.
Do you feel like your readers were surprised at all in the shift in tone from Lovestruck to Homesick? Like, was it too dark for anybody, or was it mostly positive response?
Actually, I haven't received like any surprised like comments. They were actually really cool about it. They really loved it. They loved it a lot, and some people I remember there was a comment and they said that I after reading Homesick, I go immediately back to Lovestruck just to just to you know tone it down a little because of how gruesome it was. And it's funny, yeah.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad that people were receptive to the
Yeah.
difference in stories. That's nice. Do you feel at all that like having an audience is that there's like pros and cons to it? Like knowing that people are going to be reading your story, does that affect at all how you create the story?
Yeah, kind of because their comments sometimes, actually the audience, my audience are super friendly. They are super supportive, which I don't think I deserve, but I'm super grateful for them, of course. But there comes a time where they would want like something from it, the episodes especially. Like
Mm.
I would put effort into I would start putting more effort into my comics, but there will be a time where they would not like it or they would love it a lot. So there's this two different types of there's hate, there's love, but it doesn't matter because what I focus more on is the positivity of it, really. And and that's how it kept my comic series running.
Yeah, I think that that feedback can definitely be motivating for
Yeah.
sure.
Hmm.
And I do think that you deserve the positivity. That's awesome.
Thank
You're
you.
so humble. You
Thank
deserve
you.
it. So, um, now you're doing two stories at the same time, and
Yeah.
they seem to have posted pretty consistently. So, I'm curious, how are you doing that? What are your time management tips?
uh so Lovestruck is because Lovestruck is shorter, so I could finish it really quickly. But Homesick, on the other hand, is more of a 30 to 40 panel episode kind of comic. So when I would sometimes like take a break from Lovestruck and mostly work on Homesick, and then I would switch it up sometimes. It gets pretty bad, but like I just want to kind of balance the both of them. Each day I would draw maybe around 10 panels, which is kind of hard actually, to be honest. Like it depends on how much like details you put into each panel. So but I would like kind of force myself to finish these 10 panels each day, and like have and then until like maybe the sixth day I would fix it up and then post it. That's how it works for Homesick. But Lovestruck is more, it takes a few days or maybe like 2 to 3 days to finish because I don't put the comic is only 10 to 20 panels, so it's shorter. Yeah, it's bad because I would start really early in the morning, like 6 a.m. until maybe the middle of the night, 11 to 12. So it takes I need sleep. I need sleep.
That kind of perfectly leads me into my next question, which would
Okay.
be is there anything that you do to ensure self care or work life balance?
Yikes, that's not a. Uh, uh, let's say. Okay. So when there comes a time where I'm super, super exhausted, like it's okay to take a break because you need it. And if you don't take a break, right, you wouldn't be motivated to continue your work, and you'd stop. Like, as for me, because for Homesick I took a huge break because I was so exhausted from working so much when I had exams too during that time. So I took like a month break, and then I would come back, and my followers, my audience would respect that because they know how hard it is.
Well, definitely. Yeah, I think it's really important to know when you've reached your limit and take that break. Is there because you're spending a lot of your time creating art, what
Yeah.
about art do you like the best or what's your favorite part of the process?
Coloring. I love coloring.
Mm, I can
Coloring.
see that.
Yeah, because not only coloring, I really love designing as well. Like, designing is one of the what I think is the most important part to tell a character. Like, for example, Dot, she's more vibrant. Her outfit is more vibrant, and her hair's pretty crazy, and she wears pretty, like, her outfits is pretty extreme, so can be pretty extreme. So it kind of tells what kind of character she is really. And then coloring, because I coloring is like my favorite because I love vibrant colors, and I like having fun with them, like what colors go together and how it pleases my eyes. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Is there a favorite of your characters for you to draw?
It depends because sometimes when, for example, Nora, I draw Nora a lot and I can get tired sometimes, and then I would switch to enjoying drawing Seth, and then it gets tiring, and then I would move on, and then yada yada yada. So I would so but I would say my favorite would, it depends, like, because I love drawing Nora's eyes, and then I love drawing Dot's hair, and then Seth's blushes. Yeah, it really depends. Mostly the outfits though, so there's a balance to that.
Yeah, I like how even when your characters, their style switches up, you can still recognize each of them. They
Yeah.
definitely have a distinct design.
Yeah.
That's interesting how drawing different characters, like you were saying that sometimes it gets boring drawing the same one. The fact that you have two stories going on as well. Do you find that working on two different projects kind of helps prevent you from getting bored of either one?
Yeah, exactly. For now, because since Homesick is getting featured, I have to restart from the beginning, and I have to redraw their panels, but even better, like improve on it more. And drawing Rain and Samuel is really tiring every day, just drawing the same two characters, especially because it's only been the two of them so far. So it gets really boring. So I would switch it up sometimes, maybe work on Lovestruck, and then actually try to post on Lovestruck a little bit more often, besides working on Homesick, so that it would keep my sanity, really.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's interesting because both of your stories have some creative world building going on.
Thank
And
you.
in Homesick, especially, the creatures are zombie like, but they're not exactly zombies. Is that right?
Yeah, in episode 2, we can see that um these creatures, they're pitch black and super super tall. But they have these like really really googly eyes and like white shards coming out of their like specific parts of their bodies. And I don't know, it was a creative choice, really. I did not want to do, I know doing like a zombie apocalyptic thing is really cool and exciting, but like I want to do something different because we have a lot of those zombie apocalyptic stories. So I want to, change it up a little bit. But I can assure you that these creatures, they will look a little bit more scarier in the featured style. So the featured one,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah,
That's exciting.
yeah.
So, I mean, you have these two stories. Do you have other story ideas that we can expect from you in the future?
Story ideas, like a new comic.
Yeah, like are you hoping to work on other projects once these are finished?
Mm, yeah, for sure. I have a lot of ideas. I want to do like for Lovestruck after it's finished, I want to do a story focus on Seth's brother, Damien, and it will be more of a I wanted to name it Lovesick because I
Mm.
feel like it would fit Damien perfectly and what his romantic life would be like being like a weird kid. So I kind of want to try that after Love Struck is finished.
Interesting. Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned how Seth is kind of not who you would think of when you think of a demon, whereas Damien
Yeah.
kind of is.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a little bit more mischievous.
Damien was actually supposed to be, in his original design, he was supposed to be Seth's older brother.
Mm.
Uh, but I kind of changed the idea because I feel like having a little brother who is more the opposite of a bigger brother and more mischievous than a bigger brother is kind of funny. And I want to put that into Lovestruck.
Very nice. In Love Sick, would Damien be older?
Uh, yeah, he'll be in his teens. Yeah, not a 10-year-old weirdo. So
Well, very nice. When can people expect to see the featured version of Homesick?
I'm actually not sure,
Okay.
100% sure about it yet, but soon, soon. You can expect it soon. Yeah.
Oh, very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your time. And before you go, I would just love to hear your thoughts or perhaps your advice for people who are also trying to make comics.
Okay, so I think, you know, if there's a story you want to tell, just go for it. Don't wait till it's like when it's been like years and years trying to perfect your art skills so that you can create a comic. That's not how it works. Like usually you have to experience what it's like making a comic and really like have fun with it. And when you start creating a comic and then you know what it's like to create a comic, you would improve little by little. So, yeah, just go for it, really.
I agree. And
Yeah.
for those who want to check out your work, where all could we find you on social media?
Instagram, that's the only social
Yeah.
media.
Okay,
Yep.
that makes it easy for me too. I'll definitely link that when I put up the video.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Thank you again to Miss Freaky for agreeing to speak with me on today's podcast. If you enjoyed, definitely be sure to check out her comics and her Instagram listed below. And if you want more of the podcast, be sure to subscribe. If you're at all curious as to what I'm doing, I have a webtoon called Soul Match, so check that out if you'd like. And please recommend any more webtoons, both ones that you just think I would like, or if you really want to hear from their creator. I always want to read more comics. Can't get enough of them, so let me know. Thank you again for listening, and I will see you all again next Monday.